Áqá Muḥammad-Báqir and Áqá Muḥammad-Ismá'íl the Tailor. These were two brothers who, in the path of God, captives along with the rest, were shut in the Áqá fortress. They were brothers of the late Pahlavan Riza. They left Persia and immigrated to Adrianople, hastening to the loving kindness of Baha'u'llah, and under his protection they came to Áqá. Pahlavan Riza, God's mercy and blessings and splendors be upon him, praise and salutations be unto him, was a man to outward seeming untutored, devoid of learning. He was a tradesman, and like the others who came in at the start, he cast everything away out of love for God, attaining in one leap the highest reaches of knowledge. He is of those from the earlier time. So eloquent did he suddenly become that the people of Kashan were astounded. For example, this man, to all appearances unschooled, betook himself to Haji Muhammad Karim Khan in Kashan, and propounded this question, quote, "Sir, are you the fourth pillar? I am a man who thirsts after spiritual truth, and I yearn to know of the fourth pillar." Footnote. In Shaykhi terminology, the fourth support, or fourth pillar, was the perfect man, or channel of grace, always to be sought. Haji Muhammad Karim Khan regarded himself as such. End of footnote. Since a number of political and military leaders were present, the Haji replied, quote, "Perish the thought! I shun all those who considered me the fourth pillar. Never have I made such a claim. Whoever says I have speaks falsehood. May God's curse be on him." Unquote. A few days later, Pahlavan Riza again sought out the Haji and told him, "Sir, I have just finished your book, Irshadul Avam, that is, Guidance unto the Ignorant. I have read it from cover to cover. In it you say that one is obligated to know the fourth pillar or fourth support. Indeed, you account him a fellow knight of the Lord of the Age." Footnote. The Lord of the Age is the promised 12th Imam. End of footnote. "Therefore I long to recognize and know him. I am certain that you are informed of him. Show him to me, I beg of you." Unquote. The Haji was wrathful. He said, quote, "The fourth pillar is no figment. He is a being plainly visible to all. Like me, he has a turban on his head. He wears an abba and carries a cane in his hand." Unquote. Pahlavan Riza smiled at him. Quote, "Meaning no discourtesy," he said, "there is then a contradiction in your honor's teaching. First you say one thing, then you say another." Unquote. Furiously the Haji replied, "I am busy now. Let us discuss this matter some other time. Today I must ask to be excused." The point is that Riza, a man considered to be unlettered, was able, in an argument, to best such an erudite fourth pillar. In the phrase of Alami-i-Hili, he downed him with the fourth support. Footnote. Alami-i-Hili, the very erudite doctor, title of the famed Shia theologian Jamaluddin Hassan ibn Yosef ibn Ali of Hila. End of footnote. Whenever that lion-hearted champion of knowledge began to speak, his listeners marveled, and he remained till his last breath the protector and helper of all seekers after truth. Ultimately he became known far and wide as a Baha'I, was turned into a vagrant, and ascended to the Abha kingdom. As for his two brothers, through the grace of the Blessed Beauty, after they were taken captive by the tyrants, they were shut in the most great prison, where they shared the lot of these homeless wanderers. Here, during the early days at Áqá, with complete detachment, with ardent love, they hastened away to the all-glorious realm. For our ruthless oppressors, as soon as we arrived, imprisoned all of us inside the fortress in the soldiers' barracks, and they closed up every issue so that none could come and go. At that time the air of Áqá was poisonous, and every stranger immediately following his arrival would be taken ill. Muḥammad-Báqir and Muḥammad-Ismá'íl came down with a violent ailment, and there was neither doctor nor medicine to be had, and those two embodied lights died on the same night, wrapped in each other's arms. They rose up to the undying kingdom, leaving the friends to mourn them forever. There was none there but wept that night. When morning came, we wished to carry their sanctified bodies away. The oppressors told us, quote, "You are forbidden to go out of the fortress. You must hand over these two corpses to us. We will wash them, shroud them, and bury them, but first you must pay for it," unquote. It happened that we had no money. There was a prayer carpet which had been placed under the feet of Baha'u'llah. He took up this carpet and said, quote, "Sell it, give the money to the guards," unquote. The prayer carpet was sold for 170 piastres, and that sum was handed over. Footnote: the Turkish gurush or piastre of the time was 40 paras, the para 1/9 of a cent. These figures are approximate only. End of footnote. But the two were never washed for their burial, nor wrapped in their winding sheets. The guards only dug a hole in the ground and thrust them in, as they were, in the clothes they had on, so that even now their two graves are one, and just as their souls are joined in the Abha realm, their bodies are there together, under the earth, each holding the other in his close embrace. The Blessed Beauty showered his blessings on these two brothers. In life they were encompassed by his grace and favor. In death they were memorialized in his tablets. Their grave is in Áqá. Greetings be unto them and praise. The glory of the All-Glorious be upon them, and God's mercy and his benediction. Abu'l-Qasim of Sulṭán-Ábád. Another among the prisoners was Abu'l-Qasim of Sulṭán-Ábád, the traveling companion of Áqá Faraj. These two were unassuming, loyal, and staunch. Once their souls had come alive through the breathings of the faithful spirit, they hastened out of Persia to Adrianople, for such was the unabating cruelty of the malevolent that they could no longer remain in their own home. On foot, free of every tie, they took to the plains and hills, seeking their way across trackless waters and desert sands. How many a night they could not sleep, staying in the open with no place to lay their heads, with nothing to eat or drink, no bed but the bare earth, no food but the desert grasses. Somehow they dragged themselves along and managed to reach Adrianople. It happened that they came during the last days in that city, and were taken prisoner with the rest, and in the company of Baha'u'llah they traveled to the most great prison. Abu'l-Qasim fell violently ill with typhus. He died about the same time as those two brothers, Muḥammad-Báqir and Muḥammad-Ismá'íl, and his pure remains were buried outside Áqá. The Blessed Beauty expressed approval of him, and the friends all of them wept over his afflictions and mourned him. Upon him be the glory of the All-Glorious. Áqá Faraj. In all these straits, Áqá Faraj was the companion of Abu'l-Qasim. When in Persian Iraq he first heard the uproar caused by the advent of the Most Great Light, he shook and trembled, clapped his hands, cried out in exultation, and hastened off to Iraq. Overcome with delight, he entered the presence of his Holy Lord. He was gathered into the loving fellowship, and blissfully received the honor of attending upon Baha'u'llah. Then he returned, bearing glad tidings to Sulṭán-Ábád. Here the malevolent were lying in wait, and disturbances broke out, with the result that the sainted Mullah Bashi and some other believers who had none to defend them were struck down and put to death. Áqá Faraj and Abu'l-Qasim, who had gone into hiding, then hurried away to Adrianople to fall, ultimately, with the others and with their well-beloved, into the Áqá prison. Áqá Faraj then won the honor of waiting upon the ancient beauty. He served the holy threshold at all times and was a comfort to the friends. During the days of Baha'u'llah he was his loyal servitor and a close companion to the believers. and so it was after Baha'u'llah's departure. He remained true to the covenant, and in the domain of servitude he stood like a towering palm, a noble, superior man, patient in dire adversity, content under all conditions. Strong in faith, in devotion, he left this life and set his face toward the kingdom of God, to become the object of endless grace. Upon him be God's mercy and good pleasure in his paradise. Greetings be unto him, and praise in the meadows of heaven.